Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. We're finally getting to review all of these Zoot Suits. About 2 months ago, I posted a collection video where I basically was just saying, hey, I bought all of the Zoot Suits, and we're eventually going to see a full review on each and every one of them. So feel free to check out that video, but this is the first one of that series. Now you're probably wondering, why has it taken me 2 months to make these? Well, this was the only one I tested before I made that video, and all the other ones had issues with their three-way switch. I reached out to the seller looking for some type of resolution, wasn't really helped, so they're just kind of sitting ducks at this point. The problem is that these guitars have sat since birth, and there's a bunch of dirt and buildup in their three-way switches. Most of the SGs work, but sometimes the pickups act like they're at half power, but I know it's just the three-way switch. So I thought I would start with the one that I know is 100% functional at this point in time. This is the Black&Natural color variation of the Gibson Zoot Suit SG. Now the Zoot Suit SG was offered from 2009 all the way until 2012, and it was offered in 5 different finishes: Rainbow, Black&Red, Black&Natural, Black&Orange, and Red and Blue. Now they did do a Les Paul version of these guitars as well, but there was only one color, and that was Rainbow, and done in 2013. So what makes these guitars special? They're very visually striking. A lot of people like to diss these guitars and call them plywood. Well, technically they are. They are multiple layers of birchwood that are dyed and then glued together, and then Gibson goes through and carves the SG design out of them. And that's what creates this color scheme. You have the different layers of the wood showing. Now I dig the Zoot Suits. I think they're all cool. They all have their own kind of personality to their colors, but these things received a lot of hate at the time of introduction. However, for most people, the Black&Natural is the one that they like the best. This is the one I deem the spooky, scary skeleton guitar. This would be perfect for a Halloween gig or a Dia de los Muertos guitar. There's a lot of cool places you could play this Zoot Suit SG. Now here's something you don't see from photos of these guitars. These have a carved top, kind of like a Les Paul, but not really. It's not a flat-topped SG like you normally see, but you can see it actually comes down here, and then there's a belly to the guitar, so it really does rise up. Now the back of the guitar does the opposite. It's concave and it falls into the guitar. So that's what creates these different colored layers, and it's the reason why no two Zoot Suits look the same. Like, here's a very big characteristic mark right here. You can see this layer was sanded a little bit more in this area, so that's why you have another natural spot. Now again, it's all birchwood, that includes the neck, but the SG Zoot Suits do still retain the ebony fretboard. They made it right before the whole Gibson Red and ebony started to become hard to use for them. Now the pickups themselves look extra special because they have clear bobbins and you can see the coppered color wiring, but these are Gibson's 496R and 500T pickups. That means these are really hot pickups, which make them great for like more heavy gain stuff like metal. Personally, I find these pickups to almost be a little bit too hot for clean tones. This is the same type of pickup that you'll find in like the Buckethead signature Les Paul. I like these pickups when I'm going for a metal sound, but most times on clean, they're almost a little bit too hot. But when I played this one, I was actually quite impressed with the cleans as well, but this guitar just begs to be played in an overdriven state. Now the headstock veneer on these is pretty cool because they cut it out so you can still see that the neck was constructed in this multi-ply method. I love the view from the side of the headstock because when you're playing the guitar, this is what you see, the multiple colors. You can also see it along the edges of the body. But looking in the control cavities of these guitars is even cooler, and you can see all those layers, and it's just a beautiful sight to see in the pickup cavities, also in the back control cavity, and even by the truss rod. Now these guitars feel really heavy to me, but when I threw this on the scale, I was surprised it clocks in just a little bit under 9 pounds. The weight is definitely on the body of this guitar, so you don't really have the whole neck dive situation necessarily, but this is a really substantially beefy guitar. I mean, it looks like a super thick SG. The body style design of these is very similar to the SG Diablo series. So these are kind of collector's guitars, but there are a lot of people who dig the vibe of these, as well as a lot of people who don't. So I definitely do suggest trying a Zoot Suit if you ever see one. Now this multiply method has also been used on skateboard decks, artwork such as this foot, and a few other guitar companies have also done a similar looking design. But where does the name Zoot Suit even come from? The term Zoot Suit comes from the 1940s. African American urban communities such as Harlem, Chicago, and Detroit made these really exotic suits very famous. Jazz musicians also started wearing them in the 1940s. But they're basically a high-waisted, wide-leg, long coat suit. Some of them are pretty cool, some, not so much. I was actually hoping I could buy like 5 fancy suits for the reviews and demos of these to match the guitar, but I didn't want to quite spend as much as what people wanted for a Zoot Suit. Now that we've learned a little bit about this guitar, let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Now that we know how this guitar sounds, let's go ahead and see its condition. This guitar is in pretty clean shape. It hasn't been played a lot, but it does have a few players modifications we need to go over. You've got some very minor string change wear, but nothing major on the face of the headstock here. Your truss rod works just fine, and the original black nut is still present. I just cleaned the ebony fretboard, and your frets show very minor wear, hardly any at all really. So no real issues on this one. I would describe the neck profile as kind of a rounded medium. This is almost a 50s neck profile in my opinion. Now the face of this guitar, it has some light scratches and normal manufacturer's flaws. Now by that I mean these little areas right here that look like nicks and dings. They're not, but they are there. Now this guitar is actually a satin finish. I think they applied 2 layers of satin finish for every layer they put on. There was no finish actually used on the guitar. All of these color variations come from the dyed wood. So just light wear and tear on this guitar. Now the original knobs here, they do have cracks on the top, and I'll tell you, just about all of them that I've owned have had this. So I think that's fairly common to see, and some of them even break. One of the Zoot Suits in this collection actually has replaced knobs due to that reason. You still have your original pickups, but there are 2 modifications to this guitar. The bridge has been replaced. It looks exactly the same as the original, but this is actually a locking bridge. When I went to take it off, it's like, why won't this come off? You gotta use Allen keys to get that off because it's locked down. Now, I believe the tailpiece is still original, but it's possible that has also been replaced. The only other modification is the capacitor in here has also been swapped out to an orange drop cap. It's not a huge deal, but it is something that's non-original to this guitar. Back of the headstock, our serial number appears to be 013390501. You have your stock Grover tuners, and again, there's no major wear or tear to this guitar, just some very light impression lines. This is probably the strongest neck Gibson has ever built. If I counted the layers correctly, this is a 33-piece neck. That's ridiculous to say, and most people thought 5-piece maple necks were the best. Well, take this 33-piece birch neck. The back of the guitar doesn't have any major wear, but there is once again some very light play wear. The wood does have some light figuring to it. I mean, it's nothing extreme, but it kind of changes colors depending on the angle you view it at. But these are just such aesthetically pleasing guitars in my eyes. They're not a guitar for everyone, but this is what I like, fancy looking art guitars that are also excellent players. Take a quick look around the side. Again, you get to see all those layers, but just very light wear and tear. This example still retains the original strap buttons. But overall, nothing too bad on this guitar. I believe it would please most collectors if they can live past the bridge and cap being replaced. And any player, you're gonna love this thing. Now we'll do a blacklight test. We can see everything on the face of the guitar is glowing the way I would expect to see. And the sides are also looking good, as is the back of the guitar here. Face of the headstock also glowing the way I would want to see, as is the back of the headstock and the neck. Now, someone at Gibson had the bright idea to give gig bags to every single Zoot Suit that was ever made instead of a hard shell case, so most of these you'll find on the market have the gig bags. Now, not all of these came to me with cases, but I've now tracked down cases for all these SGs. This is an early 2000s Gibson USA SG case. You can see it's got some light wear and tear to it, but for the most part everything is there and functioning. And this is a really nice deluxe case. You still have the case shroud on it. It's got a nice charcoal gray interior. And really, this case is in great shape. It's probably the best replacement case you could have for this guitar, as far as a Gibson product goes anyways. Inside the compartment lid, you have some of the original paperwork. None of it was filled out, but it is interesting case candy at least. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this Gibson Zoot Suit Black&Natural, I am opening up the collection to individual sales, or you could buy the whole collection at a discount. But feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Troglys, Troglys. Thank you, Troglylites, for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.